Welcome to another edition of Moxie Talk, where we give you an intimate look into the courage, character, and defining moments of today's most inspiring individuals. I'm Kirt Jacobs, host of Moxie Talk, where previous guests have included leaders from the world of politics, business, culinary, sports, entertainment, art, law, community activism, and philanthropy. Today, our 431st guest in our series, we welcome Steve A. Leitch, affectionately known as Moby, and a self-proclaimed sober ultra swimmer. Much about Steve's bio is not average. Listen to this. He hails from the enchanting city of Edinburgh, Scotland, and now calls Taylor's, South Carolina, home sweet home. But what sets him apart isn't just his hometown, it's his incredible journey. We will explain. Family is the heart of his universe. Steve's world revolves around his beloved bride and wife, Kelly, and their large blended family, as in 6 children, a daughter-in-law, a son-in-law, and their cherished granddaughter, Eden. It's a lively mix of personalities and love, a real-life blend of drama and comedy that forms the colorful backdrop to Steve's mission in life. His arena? Wait for it, the open water. That's right. Ever since he was a young lad, Steve has found solace in the water. What started as a passion for swimming has grown into an unbreakable commitment to ultra-marathon swimming. This extreme sport pushes the limits of human and his endurance, and Steve's swims aren't just athletic feats. They're acts of love aimed at helping others. It's the kind of story that captivates audiences around the world. It's a tale of social change driven by one person's unwavering dedication. It reminds you of a compelling docuseries or even a blockbuster feature. It's true. Lastly, Steve considers this journey a legacy beyond wealth, quote unquote. You see, while many focus on leaving financial legacies, Steve's philosophy centers on actively building a legacy every day. He's all about cultivating new habits aimed at making a meaningful impact, offering a fresh perspective on what it means to leave a lasting mark on this world. Steve, a.k.a. Moby, you are a remarkably layered human being, and we are so honored for you to be here with us on Moxie Talk and join our guest library. And one thing I want to add, he's our first guest in the history of the program that actually drove from another state, probably could have flown, to be in our studio today. So pretty impressive. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
What drives you to excel? I mean, you're doing some, for you, I would say arguably very enjoyable, but also pretty dangerous stuff. What drives you to excel, especially at this chapter in your life?
What drives me to excel? I don't even know if I think of it like that. I just know that we're not guaranteed tomorrow, and yesterday's dead. And when we take any day for granted, that's just entitlement. And I just don't ever want to do that. Also just kind of pushing people, like we in the addiction community, we do recover. So there is a life after addiction. Live it, and live it to the fullest. God's got a purpose for your life. Do not miss it.
Who do you credit most influential in your life, Steve? And it can be more than one, personal or professional.
I mean, hands down, my dad.
Okay.
He didn't follow the voices of the crowd. He went against the grain. Even there's so many stories about him not being put into a box, I would say, and living the life that God wanted for him. That was really, it was just, he was my confidant, he was my dad, he was my best friend, and he was the guy that showed me the most grace when I hit rock bottom too.
It's interesting you say that, and some people in this room knew my dad well. We had that kind of relationship, and I didn't realize how rare it was to have that kind of relationship with a parent until they're gone. And, this is for you, this Moxie Talk. But, I mean, he was best friend, brother, father. So all three of those kind of went when he passed on. So appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. What was the most defining moment of your life, Steve? And, again, it could be more than one, personal or professional.
Most defining moment of my life was, actually, I drove by it yesterday. This is why I drove up here. Just after the Tennessee-Kentucky border on the highway, there's a little rest area. And there's a tree in that rest area that nobody pays attention to. It's insignificant to everyone other than me. But I ended up sitting under that tree September 23rd, 2010. I went and checked the dates. And that was when I hit rock bottom. my former wife had left me. I wasn't getting to see my kids. My restaurant was bankrupt. I was in the height of addiction. So I was spiritually, physically, relationally, financially bankrupt. I mean, gone. We talk about no money, nothing. I didn't even have gas in the car practically. And I sat under that tree and just went, okay, Lord, I'm done running from you. I'm now running towards you. You know, I'll start trusting you one step at a time, one thought at a time, one question at a time, and we'll just start moving forward. And that was the crossroads in life. I had the opportunity to keep running from him or running to him. And that was by far the best decision I ever made in life.
I think this is a good time to ask this kind of holistic question. Can you give us kind of the backstory? You can be as brief or as detailed as you like to be of how you got. We're going to talk a lot about the chapter we're in now, which is why you became an ideal guest to be on the program. But, you know, losing the restaurant, your wife, what type of addiction, you know, kind of give the audience a flavor, if you will, of how you got to that point. Just to set a framework, excuse me.
So the framework, really, you've got to go back to like high school days.
Okay.
And back when I was on a swim team, and I grew up in Scotland. But I was over here at summer and Christmas over in America because my dad was over here preaching a lot. And I never really felt like I fit in. Over in Scotland, the kids were always like, you're a Yank because you're always going over there. And over here, it's like, oh, he's the Scots boy. Also, just being on the swim team, it was very cliquey. Definitely, there was, I look back at not fun times. Definitely not treated great by older guys on the team and things like that. But bottom line is I never felt, I had this insecurity of not fitting in. So then I was always trying to fit in with everyone. And couldn't really deal with my issues and feelings and all that. So once I quit swimming after Clemson, got into cooking. And got into cooking, which meant I could be in the kitchen all day and not deal with my feelings. I could work for 16 hours at a clip.
True.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
Stay awake for 3 days straight, cooking in a kitchen, not a problem. But then the drugs, you know, I wasn't swimming anymore, and they're like, you've got ADHD, so they're getting me on ADHD medication. I'm drinking. And there was hard drugs involved too. But it was just this like slow spiral down into about 2008, 9 when we opened a restaurant, and then the economy crashed. And my identity had been wrapped up in getting to cook for celebrities, big doctors, things like this. I'm not going to name drop like that.
Sure, no.
But some pretty household names that you would know of. And I was just bankrupt in my soul as a person. So when the finances went away, I had nothing, like absolutely nothing. And that kind of led to the addictions, to the troubles, to the issues, to where it was like, okay, well, this is how I got here. How am I going to move forward from this place?
So this wasn't a couple-year thing, you know, from high school or end of college to the restaurant. How many years are we talking roughly?
So yeah,
or 08 or 09?
So we're talking like really 1995 through to like 2006, 2010. Sorry, 2010.
So it was a period.
Yeah, I mean it was a slow progression, but then the last year really ramped up very quickly. You know, you start making decisions that you're trying to survive instead of thrive, and these decisions they're just not well thought through decisions. They're just reacting to everything that's happening to you. There's no substance for life. There's no routine. There's no discipline. There's definitely no, care for anybody else. You're just trying to survive yourself.
Sure.
So yeah, once you hit the throttle and the addiction, it's over.
Now, did you consider yourself a religious or spiritual person prior to the moment under the tree in 2010, or was that kind of your, I don't want to say born again or put words in your mouth, but was that a demarcation in terms of your belief in God, or did you always believe in a higher power kind of thing?
No, absolutely. I believe in God, Jesus, Holy Spirit. My dad was a preacher, evangelist, worked with Billy Graham. I mean, I grew up in the Christian circles, but I always felt like I was on the outside looking in. I didn't understand because everybody looked like they had perfect lives. And on the inside, I'm like, this is before social media. On the inside, I'm like, really? Does everyone really got it all together? I couldn't reconcile it. And honestly, I would say the Christian circles for me didn't look like they were having as much fun as the non-believers. And that's where I was really attracted to, because I felt like I was more connected to the non-Christian circles. And also I didn't feel like I could live up to the expectations of my dad, even though he didn't have any for me.
Right.
That was all stories in my mind.
That's interesting.
So that was really the...
So you would you say you had contempt for that circle, or is that too strong a word?
No, not contempt. No, not even anger or hatred, anything like that. It was just I didn't know how to be a part of it. And again, I didn't know how to, and it was really stemming from the issue of I didn't know who I was at the core.
Yeah.
So no anger or hatred towards anyone.
What do you consider to be your biggest professional triumph? It could be personal as well.
Oh gosh. Biggest professional triumph. I don't even know how to answer that. Like I think today's my biggest professional triumph, because I didn't take it for granted.
Yeah.
I got up here, drove up here last night, got up. People might sleep in. I go and swim. I have a phone call with my wife, my wife, Kelly, and we talk and we pray this morning. Then I had some connections with kids, different kids in the family. Did my own devotion, did some work this morning, and then came here. And it's like, I think that when you live life every single day and don't take it for granted, that is your biggest professional, achievement. Mountaintops are everywhere, but you actually learn where you are in the valley.
In that moment in 2010, and we'll move on to the other questions in the Moxie Talk interview, did you ever contemplate ending it? I mean, you had a lot of pressure on you, societal and personal, financial. I mean.
I didn't.
Well, that's fine.
But here's
because I think a lot of people would.
No, absolutely. I mean, it would have been the next step.
And I don't think a lot of people would have not understood. They would have understood. I mean, they would have liked it.
I burned it down past burning it down.
Yeah.
It was kind of like dropping an atom bomb on life. There's the atom bomb followed by the volcano lava going over my life. There was nothing left.
Yeah.
But in saying that, a very influential man in my life, Robert Bell, who now runs the ministry that my dad started in Scotland, I called him a couple days before that tree encounter and our crossroads. And I said, look, I'm not thinking about offing myself or not being around.
That's great.
But I don't see how I stay alive at this point. Like I can't see color, I can't see joy, I can't see anything worthwhile left. And I think that really started an amazing process of he then connected with my parents who never thought they'd see me alive again. So there is that. And they started praying specifically with friends for me until that tree incident, and that's when the prodigal son kind of coming home story started.
In that moment in the tree, I just think it's so transcendent the way you describe it. I mean, did everything kind of go dark for a moment and you had this epiphany, or was it like you made a decision and that was it? To give some more insight into your character for the audience.
Yeah, sun was rising, so I did feel the sun beating on my face. I will remember that. It was simply this: I'm tired of running. I'm not going to run anymore. I've made a mess of things doing it my way. So let's see your way. That was really the change.
Well, this might you may have already in a way answered this. What does Stephen Moby Leitch consider to be his biggest or hardest life lesson ever learned?
The hardest life lesson. I don't know if this isn't a lesson, but this is the hardest thing I've gone through. Once we were divorced, my former wife and I would have to visit my children.
Yeah.
There was times I would drive through the night from Michigan to get to them in South Carolina. That wasn't hard, driving to them. Driving towards something is never hard. But when I hugged them and kissed them, and they walked into the door of their mother's house and closed the door and I had to drive off, I have never experienced a pain like that in my life. Trying to catch my breath, trying to make it through. But still knowing that the story wasn't over. And I was willing to go through that pain and drive again over and over and over, no matter how many times it took to pursue my kids. So the lesson was like, no matter how bad it is, never give up. Keep moving forward.
And how long did this phase or period go on? Are we talking years?
Yeah, years. Yeah. I mean, even there was a phase in 2000, end of 2014, I moved to North Carolina, which was Raleigh, and I was driving every other weekend 4.5 hours from Raleigh to Greenville to pick them up, and either we'd stay in Greenville or we drive back to Raleigh. So there are sometimes I'm driving 8 to 9 hours in a day, going to pick them up. And again, I don't know many people that do that, but when you've been given a second chance or a third chance or a 100th chance, like you just keep pursuing. You never know what it's going to mean to them, because at this point, my words are meaningless.
Right.
It's all about action. And was I getting it right? No, I wasn't getting it right, but I was doing what I could do in the moment.
You know, if you're willing to share, I'm curious twofold, you know, those times with your children alone, you know, once you came to, you know, get them, were those pleasant visits? And number two, are you guys all cool now?
Yeah.
As of this filming?
They were hard. We were on the road a lot. And I don't want to diminish that.
Sure.
But yes, just being in close proximity, being able to wake up in the same house as them, being able to, you know, help them any way I can, it was amazing. You know, I love them, but also, you know, we had just got remarried. I just got remarried to Kelly, and so we're blending a family, and the kids that were living with us are driving with us too. So like we're all in it together, and I don't want to diminish it for them either. It was very hard on them. I mean, it was not easy on anyone, but it was like everybody was willing to do it for everyone else. Are we good now? Yes, we're good now. Is our relationships perfect? Have all the pains and healing? No. Is it getting better? Yes. Okay. Because they were very young.
That was my last question on this phase of your life. How old were they, the children you were going to visit? Just to give perspective for the audience. Excuse me.
And when I was in Michigan, they were between 2 and 6. Wow. And then in North Carolina, 6 and 10. And then, you know, then I moved closer 4 or 5 years ago. Man. But I actually moved to 1.5 miles from their house now, and I've seen them less this last year. You know, because they're older in high school.
Right,
so
exactly.
I'm like, wait a minute.
You know how that works, you know.
You know, but again, you just keep pursuing, never give up. You never know when they're going to need you, when your kid's going to need you, and your door must be open for them.
Amen. I agree with that. Being a father myself, I totally agree with that. Yeah. So, what do you consider to be the biggest risk you've ever taken, and has it paid off? And it could be personal or professional.
I think the biggest risk I ever took was opening the restaurant. You know, I was very young, very naive. I wasn't in a great mental place, and it did not go well. You know, a big risk that has gone well is getting remarried. You know, I mean, we had known each other our entire lives. And had been friends our entire lives, but when we got remarried, we just did it differently. You know, usually when you go through dating, you're like, you do all your good stuff. Well, we were all friends for so long that you can't even really do your good stuff, so we talked about all our bad stuff. And then at the end of that, we're like, okay, Lord, you still want us to get married? Yeah. And we had gone through all the bad stuff, so I'm like, if I've forgotten anything, it's not not on purpose. But yeah, it was a big risk, and it's, you know, my wife, my bride, is my best friend. She's my confidant. That's great. She, you know, goes through the oceans with me. So she's usually on the kayak or on the boat, one of the two. So. Yeah, she's in some of the pictures coming up. Yeah. So you say blended family. How many children are we talking now? How many do you think?
I'm going to say 8, 6.
Okay, so it's a Brady bunch, 6. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And any grandchildren yet? Or?
Yeah, we've got baby. She just turned 7 months, Eden.
Yeah. Okay.
So we've actually got bookend boys. So we've got a 25-year-old boy and a 15-year-old boy.
Gotcha.
The 25-year-old's married
to
Brianna, a wonderful daughter-in-law. I actually had the honor and privilege to marry them 3 years ago.
Oh, that's great.
So that was a very cool experience. And then we got 4 girls in the middle, 2 of which are 16,
Okay.
and very different personalities. But then Eden's 7 months old, and it's a TV show in itself. Like, we are event planners. We're constantly on the move.
Yeah.
Our kids, just hearing at our daughter Sophie's wedding last weekend, hearing one of our kids say, you're coming into this family, you need to know that silverware is not for eating. It's actually for props for Steve to coach with at the dinner table. And then we don't do shallow conversations and talk about nothing. We do big conversations. That's if we sit still enough to be able to do that, know? So it's just really funny how they perceive our family too.
That's amazing. And I remember when you decided to come up here, I was like, well, you can bring your wife with you, whatever. And you said, tell me what you said.
She's like, oh, great. That means I can get more done without you being here for a couple of days. And then she was bummed because I'm coming home tonight instead of tomorrow. She's like, well, I can't get as much done. So,
I know what that's like. My wife's like that with me. I know what that's like. So this next question, I love. What do you consider to be your biggest mistake in your human journey? And you may have touched upon it already. It could be disappointment, regret, mistake, however you want to interpret it. The biggest regret mistakes I've made are where I have. I went through that period of life where I didn't value others over myself. And so, like I said, I left a wake of destruction in my past. And that's, although I wouldn't change those choices now because I've learned from them, if you could go back and do it slightly differently, but then I wouldn't be where I am now. Right.
So it's a catch-22, but again, I know especially my former, I hurt her really bad. I regret that, not being there to live in the same house as my kids and raise them, massive regret. But again, I truly believe that God can take rubble, beauty from ashes, and make something new. And is it what I had planned for my life? No. Is it perfect? No. But it's beautiful in a different way. It's immeasurably more in a different way. It's remarkable getting your backstory, because we haven't even really gotten yet to what got you in the seat, and just if that was the story alone, the overcoming addiction and recovery and redemption, if you will. But we still got a lot more to talk about. What do you consider to be the best piece of advice ever given to you, Steve? And it can be more than one, again, personal and professional. Best piece of advice is 2 things. Number 1, God has a plan for your life and a purpose for your life. Don't miss it. My dad used to say this all the time to people, and I just love that because we get so caught up in our task lists. We get caught up in our, I would call, entertainment sedation, whether it's sports or TV or shows or whatever it is, even relationships and work, that we just really miss the purpose for our life. Our purpose is, I believe, is to love God, love others, and serve with our talents and skills, just like you're here serving people with your skills and talents, and I appreciate that. The other piece of advice was when and I have no idea where it came from, but when I truly started to grasp that yesterday is dead and we're not entitled to tomorrow, then I started to really say, okay, what am I going to do with this life? Where do you want me to go? Am I going to walk in faith when I'm supposed to walk in faith? Am I going to trust Him when life's good and when life's bad? How am I going to live? Am I going to live a different life, or am I going to live the life of the masses? And that's when I really determined too that the narrow path is where I wanted. Searching for blue waters is where I wanted to be.
I want to read this. I had read this in some of my research. You had mentioned, make time for what you love while there's still air in your lungs.
Yeah.
I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so poignant. It's remarkable how a lot of us humans don't do a good job of that.
Well, think about it this way. When you walk out you're married?
Yes.
Okay. When you walk out the door, do you kiss your wife like it's the last time you're ever going to kiss her, or do you just walk out the door and think you're entitled to another kiss? And
I'll answer
you don't have to answer that.
No,
but
no, I tell her I love her.
Right.
Not a kiss, but I always do that because I've always said that you never know.
So I was like, I determined when I started living this way, like, if I died at any point in time today, does my wife know that I love her and adore her and that I served her in every capacity? Yes. Do my kids know that? Every single one of my kids? Yes. Did I pray with them consistently? Yes. Did I live my life to the max for God and for others, to serve others? Yes. If I can answer all those questions every single day, then I have lived a full day.
That's great.
So kiss your wife.
All right. Okay. I want to start kissing you, honey. You told me to.
Don't take it for granted.
So when was what I like to call the aha moment, that took you on this trajectory? And now I think we'll get into the second half, if you will, or second quarter, if you want to use a sports reference of
the aha moment.
Yeah, when it all changed for you. We've kind of covered pretty well the moments under the tree. Maybe you can go back to that, or we could move on, if you will, to this period now. There had to be an aha moment for the whole swimming journey. That's what I want to kind of go towards next.
Okay, so let me back up to
and
that.
And you can answer any way you want.
Yeah. After the tree, I really started getting into my spiritual development, my being still with God. Mike Bowden was an incredible mentor in my life. Just taught me how to be still and be still with myself instead of like constantly on the go, not really understanding who I was. Then I got into like the physical development, then the relational development, and then the financial development. I did that over a process of about 8 years.
Oh, wow.
And kind of put this formula together that was like, instead of trying to figure out the financial first, which is what most men would try and do, change that and work on the personal. So in saying that, went through all that and went in some high-level coaching that I realized I'd rebuilt my life with a lot of guilt and shame swept under the rug. Handled that guilt and shame, kind of buried it, and realized I was free to move on, and somehow got into swimming. Not somehow. There's actually a guy who moved from Louisville. His name's Kevin Sullivan, and became my manager at work, and he was a triathlete, and he knew about my swimming background and said, we got to get you swimming again. This is after 20 years of 20-something years of not swimming. And it was really cool because he's like, yeah, there's an open water race in a few weeks, like 6 weeks, that you could enter. And, you could train for it and just go see what it's like. So I looked at it and I said, well, I'm not fast anymore. I'm overweight. Let me just do the 2.4 mile. I can go at a slow pace. I'm mentally strong enough, and I'll have fun with it. So I trained for 6 weeks and ended up winning my age group.
Wow.
And came like 12th overall or something in the 2.4 mile swim. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But there was a but. I was like, I don't know. And I did another one, the same thing happened, and I was like, I'm not racing people. I want to start pushing myself and seeing what I can do. So I started with a 6-mile swim that turned into a 12-mile swim, that turned into an 18-mile swim, that turned into a 28-mile swim. And when I got to 28 miles, I was like, this is really interesting. I wonder how far the English Channel was.
Yeah.
This is only 3 years ago.
Wow.
I didn't even know how long the English Channel was.
Sure.
20 miles. I'm like, this is cool. And I turned to Kelly, I was like, I'm going to book the English Channel. She was like, what?
What?
And I said, yeah, it's only 20 miles. We just did 28. You kayaked in a leaky kayak that you had to dump the water out every hour and a half to be able to keep going with me. I think this would be great. And that was kind of started the process of the channel swims. And it was more about just swimming. Then I did a 22-mile swim on Lake Huey in South Carolina from top to bottom that nobody had done before. And I did it for Swim Across America to raise money for cancer research. And I was like, and I really wanted to quit on that swim. But I realized I was doing this for somebody else. And all of a sudden I was like, now I know why I'm going to swim. Now I know why. I'm not just going to swim for Steve. I'm going to swim for others. Because at that moment I was swimming for people who don't choose to get cancer, right? I don't know anyone that's chosen
No,
cancer.
no one would.
And it's such a hard thing to go through. But I was choosing myself to put myself in this horrible physical pain. So how dare I quit when there's people not giving up over cancer? And I kind of just took that framework and started putting it in swims. But really the aha moment was last summer.
Okay.
No, this last summer of 22. Right. My non-biological sister, Laura, who had been with me through rock bottom, had been diagnosed with ALS, and she fought for her every breath her last year. It was horrible to watch her go through it. But there was also a peace that surpassed all understanding. Because like I told her, this didn't take God by surprise. And he's prepared you all your life to be a witness right now through this horrible disease. So I'd done a 14-hour swim for her to raise money for the foundation that was helping her. 8 weeks later, my dad passes away. And I got hit with a 1-2 punch. Two of the most influential people in my life. And were gone. And it was like, I was sitting up in Michigan, where Kelly and I grew up in the summers and had met, and I just said to her, I said, I can't take tomorrow for granted. I'm gonna go up to the house, I'm gonna go book the Hawaii swim for next summer, because it's another year and a half or 2 years till English Channel. And she was like, okay, you sure? I was like, yeah, it's the longest one, let's go, we're gonna take it down. And I walked up to the house, booked it with the captain, and that was kind of also that aha moment also kicked in the Ocean 7, because I'd had this plan for a year and a half of how to do the Ocean 7 in a certain period of time that nobody had done before. And that's when the balls just started rolling. It was like, I can't assume that I have another day, another 6 months, another year, another 2 years. So I'm going to start moving towards this as praying and hoping that I do.
We'll come back to the Ocean 7 in a moment, but I want to interject something here because I think some people watching this, with the 1-2 punch of losing people close to them, a previous life of addiction, you had a very propensity, not seeing you, but someone in that position, you could have easily regressed, maybe started that whole thing again. Did any of that ever enter, or were you already so far beyond that in your strength and resolve that you put your energy towards Ocean 7? I mean, in other words, was there ever kind of a moment where you were like, maybe this wasn't a great idea, maybe I should have just left under the tree or whatever?
Yeah. No, I was sober by the grace of God. I never went to rehab.
Wow.
It was taken from me over a period of time. So no, it didn't. There was never a thought like I'm going to start using or doing alcohol or using alcohol again. But what happened was I actually went to a space in my inner being, like my inside, my mind and my thoughts, that reminded me of when I was at rock bottom addiction. But now I had the habits and tools and the ability to go, I'm getting counseling and all this to deal with the grief. Because grief, man, that was just as hard as addiction. I mean, for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tough one. And anyone who's gone through that, hats off to you. Don't take it for granted. If you've made it through addiction or you've made it through grief, there's a reason.
Yeah.
So keep moving forward. Keep serving people with your skills and talents, because you never know how your story is going to affect somebody else and help somebody else and encourage somebody else. But yeah, thankfully, I never thought about. I was probably too drilled down in my habits. Like I was still getting up and swimming every morning, but on the inside, I felt like I was dead. So yeah, it was tough.
Well, there's no time limit on grief. I've always said to people, and in my own experience, and sometimes you don't overcome it. You just learn to live with it and you move on. I think, that term closure I've always scratched my head over that one.
Yeah, I don't think there's closure. I think there's just different seasons, different times, different ways of looking at it. Like I said, we just had our oldest daughter's wedding, and my dad couldn't be there. She was actually the one that went over to Scotland a year and a half ago and spent the last 6 weeks in his house with my mom and him before he passed. And she was interning with his ministry. You know, so incredibly hard things, but you're sitting in gratitude now because you've moved through it, and you're thankful just for the opportunity of how you see her getting married, and there's just, you know,
joy,
beautiful things happening.
Yeah. So for the audience, can you enlighten them in somewhat detail the Ocean's 7 and how doing the Channel of Bones, which we haven't really even talked about yet, was kind of the precursor to maybe your mindset for this? 2.5
years ago, I did that 22-mile swim in Lake Kiwi. I finished about 6 o'clock at night, something like that. It took about 12 and a half hours. And we went home, had sushi, and I got up at 4 in the morning, got to the airport, flew out to Houston, coached a live event for 12 hours, went to sleep for 6 hours, got up, coached another 10 hours, jumped in a plane, and flew back to South Carolina. And the lead coach was like, bro, you've been awake for 3 days, basically, you know, and you did a 22-mile swim. You need to watch 14 peaks. And so I watched about the hill climber, the mountain climber. I was like, oh, he did that in a year. You know, that's pretty cool. There's 7 oceans. So I worked this spreadsheet and plan and got kind of nerdy on ocean temperatures and windows and things like that.
Okay.
Didn't tell anybody, I didn't tell Kelly, but until I had it all figured out, I'm like, yeah, you can definitely do 7 oceans in 12 months. Wow. I absolutely think, if you know, there's a few things that have to fall in place logistically, but it's possible. And so I told Kelly, and kind of, she was like, okay.
I hope that would be her response.
So, you know,
let's do it.
She's like, okay. And then it started, you know, again, Laura passed, Dad passed, and, you know, it came up in the fall again before the Hawaii, so I'm like, we started talking to the CEO of Miracle Hill, where she works, that we did the fundraiser for Hawaii. And I was really like, last summer I determined like 7 oceans in 7 months. I want to do it in 7 months because you want to ready for this? I don't want to be on the road for 12.
So wait, you shaved 5 months off of your logistics to do it in 7. Okay, go on.
Yeah. So this is the part of me where you find out that someone says, do you want to? And I'm like, yes. You know, I don't even know what the end of the question is, but I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. So it was then like, okay, so how do we make this work? And we got an amazing friend who's a videographer, Herschel. You know Herschel very well.
Good friends.
He came down and kind of videoed and agreed to go out to Hawaii with us, and he's like, I'm in. This is unbelievable. But then after I did the swim, I was like, well, can I sign up for North Channel next summer as well as the English Channel? Because then I can get 2 swims back to back. And Kelly's like, yeah, I think you should. I think we should test out that. I'm like, great, fantastic. You know, so it's not like there was an absolute plan, this is how we're going. It's like, we got to this stage in faith, we move forward. We got to this stage in faith, we move forward. And so now we're 2025, 7 oceans in 7 months, starting March 25. And here's the 7 swims. We start in New Zealand, doing the Cook Strait, from the North Island to the South Island, in March 2025. Then, that's very sharky water for everybody who's listening. I've heard terms, I think, with aggressive marine life, but you know, whatever.
That's politically correct of saying, you might get bit.
Then we go to Hawaii, and we're going to do Hawaii again.
Okay.
So there's a few people who have done it twice, but I'm actually really looking forward to that one again. I've said I would do it every year till the day I die. I love that swim. Then we'll go to Gibraltar, which we're still in the process of getting set up, but I believe it'll happen. That'll be in May 2025, and that's from Spain to Morocco. It's the shortest of the swims, but hard currents, cold waters, and July I noticed like there was orcas attacking fishing boats, so there is that. You know.
Wow. Yeah, that's why it's called Moxie Talk.
But I'm not a fishing boat. I'm a swimmer, so I feel good about it.
Okay.
Then we've got English Channel signed up for July 2025. Middle of July, I've missed one. June, we have Segura in Japan.
Wow.
Actually, I think 11 swimmers failed that one this summer. One person got it, Andy Donaldson. So that's going to be a tough one. Then we go July, English Channel, England, France. Then end of August, we'll do Ireland, Scotland, North Channel. And then September, Catalina Channel. So Catalina to LA. And that'll be 7 in 7 months. And I actually went over the plan with Andy Donaldson, who just did all 7 in the last year in 364 days. He's like, yeah, it's possible.
And you're doing them in the order of where it's the safest temperatures. And I mean, is that how you've kind of picked them? Or is it more not up to you? You have to go when there's availability?
There's windows. Just putting those together is more about what could I put in order for, not even flying logistics, but recovery. So that's why New Zealand into the longest one, Hawaii, into the shortest one, Gibraltar, made sense. So I'd have a shorter swim, then take about 6 weeks off, Japan. But it's going to be hard. I mean, you'd be an idiot. You'd be naive to think it's not going to be hard. It's just what are you willing to do? And again, your why has to be bigger than swimming. I've always said I want to be the sweat equity for other people.
That's great.
How do we raise money to serve other people? And the greatest point of that is if I can serve somebody by fundraising, but yet they never know where the money came from or what we did, then we've done our job well. We don't want recognition. None of us. We literally just want to swim, create content, raise money, and serve other people.
So for a layman watching this, or the other extreme, someone go, I love this idea. I'm going to do all 7 oceans in 7 months. Kind of give a little backstory, not only obviously the logistics. I'm sure you're doing them, like you said, you got nerdy, you got out the spreadsheet. You're doing them in a certain order. I'm assuming for safety, and you correct me if I'm wrong, number one. And then number 2 is you can't just go over and start swimming the English Channel without people knowing you're doing it. I'm sure you have to get approvals. I mean, I'm sure there's a protocol and a process. So maybe can you share that insight with someone watching this so they understand that you just don't go do it?
Yeah, I mean, the logistics behind is just in getting the swim set up is very hard. English Channel, there's about a 2.5-year waiting list right now.
Wow.
It's become the Mount Everest of swimming. Stark difference to when in the late 1800s when Captain Matthew Webb did it for the first time, breaststroke, drinking brandy, covered in goose fat.
Yeah.
God. But because it was the gentlemanly thing to do.
Oh, yes.
Brandy in a teacup.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got to sign up with a boat captain. I mean, it's not cheap either.
Right.
I mean, each swim you're just for the captain and the observer and the crew and things that go into it is about $10,000 each one. That's not travel, food, training, cost of training, everything else that goes into it. Thankfully, the equipment's not super expensive. You've got a Speedo, cap, and goggles. So if you want to start swimming, you've got a pretty low entry point and financial. But you also have to do qualifying swims.
Okay.
How I got to Hawaii was Kathleen Wilson runs this swim in Charleston that I do every year. She's an incredible open water swimmer. She's done Hawaii and actually did Sea of Galilee a couple years ago. That's pretty cool. She did it with Captain Buckman, and she put me in touch with Captain Buckman because she's like, you can definitely do this. And that's how I got my in with him. But English Channel, I think you've got to do a 6-hour qualifier in cold waters just to be able to do the... So
you have to qualify kind of like the Indy 500 just to even do it. You don't just pay the fee and go. Wow.
No. I mean, you're dealing with cold waters. North Channel, I had to kind of submit a swimming resume and have people that knew me to vouch for me. But I don't know why you would want to just... You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're called challenges for a reason, and that's
So of
It's not easy.
So of the 7, which one's the most dangerous for someone that wouldn't know, like myself?
I have got into a lot of discussion with this with a lot of different swimmers who have done multiple or done. Some people say Hawaii, and some people say North Channel.
What is it like to be Steve Moby Leitch? You know, as I say, when no one's looking, you know, like the drive up here, you know, the pillow talk with Kelly, the shaving in the morning, or maybe the long swims. What's it like when nobody's looking, when nobody's around?
Yeah, I think God creates us to be as individuals. That's why we shouldn't be trying to live anybody else's life.
Yeah, amen.
Nobody should be trying to live my life. Don't take this the wrong way. I wouldn't want to live your life,
Right.
and I'm sure you wouldn't want to live my life.
I have no desire to
You know
swim
what I'm saying?
those channels.
So
No offense.
being Steve Moby Leitch is like, it is, well, imagine the best roller coaster ride you could have in the entire world. It doesn't even compare.
Yeah.
I lead and I live an immeasurably more life because of Jesus. He's changed my life inside and out. It's all glory to God for everything that happens in my life, even the way our blended family is being put together. And again, I don't make bones about it. It's not perfect. But we love each other and we keep working at it. We don't give up. We keep trusting and we keep wanting to help others. And when you constantly are focused on serving others, you're not focused on yourself. That's when your cup is full. And that's where my life just keeps, you know, it's good, it's bad, it's happy, it's sad, it's valleys, it's hills, it's mountaintops. I mean, it's oceans, it's lakes, it's rivers, it's whatever. I just don't ever want to take this life for granted. And I know that if there's someone watching this, what's it like being Steve Moby Leitch? Know that we do recover. We do recover. But there's one choice in life that you can make that will absolutely change the trajectory of your life.
I like that a lot. I love that. What do you feel people get wrong about you? In other words, do you ever feel misunderstood, which I argue is the human condition? I think any human that's worth their salt's misunderstood at some point.
Do you think I'm misunderstood?
I don't know.
I'm very misunderstood.
Yeah.
That's okay. I don't think most people watching this won't have heard of Ocean 7. They won't have heard of anything really other than English Channel. It's such a small community. So to say we're misunderstood, we're not even known.
Right.
You know? Because there's not a ton of money in it. It's not in the Coliseum, you know, where everybody's getting paid. But I would say a lot of people look at me and think I'm doing this for myself. And I can see that. And that's a hard pill to swallow. Because when you get broken down to nothing in these swims, and you get broken down to the point of, it's not even about making it to the next feeding 30 minutes away. It's about how am I going to put one hand in front of the other and keep doing that over and over and over. And the thing that I come back to is I'm doing this to serve other people. But, you know, people, well, can't you just serve other people? And no, this is the way God created me to do it. You know, and when you're following God, it doesn't always make sense to other people.
Well, what is your motivation? And I'm trying to couch this as succinctly as I can. You know, on the assumption that you finish all 7 in 7 months, what is the impact you're trying to have on a fellow human that watches maybe all of it? You know, maybe even travels with you. That's not family, like a groupie, for lack of a better word. I'm trying to get that aspect of it, so that you would say that's why I did it. If you understand my question.
So it's multi-layered, that one. The people who are with us and as part of the team, there's a reason we've all been brought together, because we're all from very different walks of life. But it's encouragement and faith is number one. In your daily life, an encouragement and faith, and to live your life in faith for others. The goal really is to swim 7 oceans in 7 months to raise $7 million.
There you go.
So that we can fund sober living communities in the upstate of South Carolina and help partner with Miracle Hill to build safe spaces for when people come out of transitional housing not to go to have a crappy apartment by themselves. They actually come home and have a place where somebody knows their name, where you're having discussions at night and training at night and maybe a game night, whatever it is. But that is the vision for that, and to help foster children get mental health counseling if they need it as well, pay bills. 7 swims, $7 million in 7 months. That's over and above the costs. It's not, I want to raise $7 million and pay for all this other stuff. It's no, $7 million for other people. Not to put our name on any building or plaque or whatever. We just want to be the funds.
Did you form a nonprofit and all that to do
320
that?
Hope.
There you go.
Ephesians 3:20. Now to him who can do immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine. He's done immeasurably more in my life, so how can I take my life and be the sweat equity for others? That's the mission. That's the vision. Will you get laughed at? Yes. Will you get critiqued? Yes. Will there be naysayers? Yes. Does it make sense? No. But if there's only one of you, Kirt, there's only one of you. Mm-hmm. Would you try and be the 1%, or would you try and be the one?
The one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Can you define leadership in one word, or maybe in this case, endurance swimmer or ultra swimmer? You can kind of couch it more towards, your path.
Yeah, it's not about you. Mm-hmm. I mean, serve. When I'm doing swims, I focus on how the team's doing. Mm-hmm. When I focus on myself, it gets a really dark, scary, horrible place, and it gets very, very painful. But when I'm focused on, at a feeding, how are you doing? You warm enough? I know you've been sick. You're doing okay. I'm still paying attention to my kayaker who's next to me, who might have been really sick, was really sick in Hawaii. But it's constantly, there's no such thing as a solo endeavor. Mm-hmm. There's just not.
It's like self-made. It's an illusion.
It's an illusion. Yeah. You're only as good as the team around you, and you need to care for your team. That is leadership. And leadership isn't focusing on KPIs. Mm-hmm. Leadership is focusing on the person that can create the KPIs.
Mm-hmm. Key performance indicators.
Yeah, it's gross. Corporate America is
What is the single most positive contribution you've made to humanity so far? It's a big, meaty, mouthful question. There's a lot of ways to interpret it: personal, professional. It doesn't have to be solo. It can be with
I think the biggest contribution is that I didn't give up. When I hit rock bottom, it was like, no, God's got more in store for me. Mm-hmm. And I was willing to say, not run from my problems anymore. Because let's face it, we all have fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
When things are going really bad, I don't know many people that want to lean in. Mm-hmm. We all kind of want to run to safer ground where it's less, it's more comfortable. And so I think the biggest contribution is I would hope that I give people hope that there is a different way of life to live, and that you don't have to live a life like anybody else.
It's interesting you mentioned that you didn't go to rehab, and I'm not knocking that for anyone that believes that's a good way. No, not at all. But I mean, that's what's even more amazing, because you've had, that chapter with your sister and your father, and, you stayed on the positive side of that, the challenges it's going to be to pull this Ocean's 7 thing off. It just shows the insight and character into who you are and your makeup. And I just wanted to mention that part as well.
Yeah, I appreciate it. On the rehab part, that might actually stop a lot of people from wanting to get clean or sober. Mm-hmm. And my encouragement would be like, you don't have to do it the same way everybody else does it. Mm-hmm. There are coaches like myself out there that can help you through a process. Now, rehab could be the best thing for you. AA could be the best thing for you. But it doesn't matter how it gets done. Get it done. If you're ready to start. And just know that it's a process. Like life is a process. We don't forgive ourselves enough, and we don't show ourselves enough grace. We'll show grace and forgiveness to every other person all day long, But then when it comes to ourselves, we love to beat ourselves up. So just understand that in that process, the grace and forgiveness are two tools that you need to use on yourself on a daily basis.
I'll interject this in here real quick. My father had an addiction problem after my mother left him in the 1970s, and he refused to go to rehab, and he drank a fifth of bourbon a day and never ate, so that's how bad it had gotten. And he recovered from that and never drank another day for 45 something years, and smoked 4 packs of menthols a day.
Oof.
He never got a lot of credit for that because, he's always kind of known as he had that issue. And I always thought that was remarkable that he had that ability. Now, he didn't do Ocean 7 or anything like that, but that was remarkable.
But Ocean 7's...
No, I understand, but I mean...
But let's not diminish that.
No.
If you've overcome addiction, you have done something that many, I don't even know what the percentage are, can't do and don't do.
It was remarkable.
And also, what you said was very important. People will try and hold your past against you.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't give him the benefit of the doubt, even 45 years later.
No.
And that's where it's like, you've got to drown out the noise.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to drown out the noise of other people and walk that path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate your response to that. What keeps you motivated? You're 15 miles into a 28-mile swim, you're literally running on empty. I could say that when you're walking on land and, you're at a job after 70 hours of a work week or whatever, but that's not really even equate to the way we could couch this question in this context. I mean, there's got to be moments, and be honest, if there isn't, and you're in that great of health, where, you've got however many more miles to a feeding or whatever the case might be. How do you push through that? I mean, there's got to be some moments where it's tough. Maybe not.
Yeah, no, it's the pain cave. You're deep in the pain cave and you're not sure how to get through the door out of that pain cave. It's that you're either going to fight through it or you're going to run from it or you're going to find flow. It's the three areas. This last Hawaii swim, we started at 6 o'clock at night. You don't go on these swims in over 15 to 18 knot winds. We were pushing 21. Just average,
Is that because you veer off course? Is that the...
Well, you end up being in 4 to 8 foot swells like we were.
I got you.
So about an hour and a half in, my kayaker got blown off to the left on me, and I got hit by the shark shield in the chest. So I got a little zap, which was good because now we know it works. Plus, it took my mind off the fact I'm in the middle of the ocean and the sun's just set. Then I got hit by my first Portuguese man-of-war sting. Didn't feel so good. And at about the hour and a half, hour and 45-minute mark, I projectile vomit down my face and in the water. And I'm like, ooh, that came quickly. I thought I would get sick. I didn't know when.
Was that a response to the sting?
No.
It was
definitely the waves were hitting hard. So by the time the 4-hour mark came on, I'd been stung more times. I felt like I was swimming in place. I couldn't even hold water down, and I couldn't hide it from the people on the boat anymore because I was at a feeding, and I'd hidden on being sick the whole time. And I went to take water, and I just started dry heaving. And they're like, oh, he's sick. And we were switching over kayakers at that point, and the kayaker, Miles, came back out, and I just looked at him. I'm like, I just don't know, man. And he said, yeah, it's called a challenge for a reason. That's why so few people have done it. Like 93 people had completed this swim.
Right.
And I said, okay, well, I'm going to keep swimming and I'm going to pray about it. And that's what I did. I started praying. And, during the day, I had filmed this video. I was like, hey, Lord, we're raising money. It's really windy. I have noticed the wind's going straight from Molokai to Oahu. But if you could calm the seas, I'm kind of asking this in Jesus' name, and this is where you get cheeky as a Christian, like, if you could do this for me, it'd be really great. But all that to say, the seas did not get calmed. And I said, hey, Lord, I don't know why you didn't calm the seas. I asked in Jesus' name, and you didn't answer my prayer. And how I remember is I got hit by a big wave at that point. but that could be embellishing.
Yeah, sure.
And instead, I got this response of, Steve, I never said I'd calm the oceans. I said I'd calm you in the oceans.
There you go.
And I popped up and I went, we're going to finish this.
Yeah.
And I just realized that no matter what I was going through in that moment, it wasn't as hard as beating addiction. It wasn't as hard as dropping off my kids. It wasn't as hard as rebuilding life with all sorts of preconceived ideas about who you were in your past. It wasn't as hard as what foster children were going through who were raising money for them to get counseling. None of this was as hard, and it would pass. And I just had to keep going. And that started the the going forward. On other swims, I've had my dad send a text to Kelly, and she's kayaking for me. He's like, when he was alive, he said, you've now swum further than 99.9% of the world.
Yeah.
I'm just really proud of you. And that got me through.
Well, sure.
So
it's beautiful.
You've got different things. On the boat, they had all sorts of notes and Bible verses and different things from different people, kids and friends.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually never had to get to those. But sometimes we have.
Sure.
So you just never know what's going to get you through in the moment. But what I've found is definitely faith, it's definitely family, and it's definitely the understanding that you've gone through something harder in life.
Mm-hmm.
If you've gone through that and God's still faithful, then you can get through this.
Mm-hmm. So you've asked me to call you Moby. You're Stephen. I know you like Steve A. Moby Leitch, but Moby, we know, is a famous, electronica singer, producer from years ago. But why Moby now?
Well, Moby's also a famous whale.
There you go.
So, but no, we were coming up with grandparent names,
Mm-hmm.
and we had what we thought was decent names. It didn't work for the kids. So then I was kind of like, look, just call me Bait, call me Chum. Just started, because I was like, I just need a grandparent name and I need to be done.
Yeah.
But then the kids were just like, no, the most famous whale of all, Moby Dick, and I'm like, what are you calling me? But no, I was like, so Moby. And, again, because of the blended family,
Mm-hmm.
and Anders is not my biological son, but I'm always focused on, like, it doesn't matter. God brought this family together.
Absolutely.
Blood or not blood, it does not matter. And I really just wanted to step in to this next chapter of my life and fully embrace it. And, our granddaughter Eden, gosh, I'm in trouble. Like 4 girls, and now we have a granddaughter, and she's the first. I'm going to be wrapped around her finger,
Yep,
just so you know.
You are.
But I stepped into this Steve Moby Leitch persona,
Mm-hmm.
and that it was like just a way to give thanks for everything in the past,
Sure.
and for everything that's coming in the future. So Moby is really after the whale, not the electronica.
I got you. Well, good to know.
But definitely Moby and not the second name. And Steve, it is Steve on my birth certificate. It's not Steven.
Okay.
Yeah. So, which is funny in itself.
Yeah. So I love this part of the interviewer Moxie Talk. I call it the dessert part of the interview. We're going to go through what I call a life in pics and go fairly quickly.
Yeah.
I love this. You look like you're laying on the couch, just chilling, but you're in the ocean. Looks like you're just on your back kind of floating, or maybe you are swimming.
Yeah, that was not far from Waikiki.
Okay.
I was swimming that morning, and Herschel flew a drone over, and I saw it out the corner of my eye.
Mm-hmm.
When I was breathing, I was like, oh, this would make a really great picture.
And
And I love laying like that in the water. I find it very calming and relaxing, just floating like that. So yeah, it was kind of cool. We captured
Great.
it.
Here's your kayaker you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, this was near the end of the swim. It was in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Jake had come back in after being out for 5 hours because
Wow.
he had been so sick. And that's a great picture because, one, you can actually see somebody swimming.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's the memory of he got back in and was like amazed that we were still going.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, let's go to work.
Was he sick from the waves?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And here you are, look like you're getting ready to jump back in.
Yeah,
maybe.
looking nice and plump.
How much weight have you lost at the start of this? You've probably done pretty good.
Yeah, no, so I really carved up and everything for the swims because you never know if you're going to eat or be able to eat.
Right.
But I was probably 12, 14 pounds heavier there.
I got you. And here you are in the water.
This is one of my favorite things. And Lake Michigan, where we stay in the summers, I swim out in the morning, anywhere from a half mile to a mile to, Kelly, don't listen, 2 miles, and by myself with and I watch sunrise. And there's no boats, there's no one else. It's like 6:30 in the morning, and it's just me in the water, and I absolutely love it.
Wow.
It's one of my favorite
That's
things.
great. And I love this picture.
Yeah, I got this picture because it looked like everyone who did Ocean 7 did this. And I was like, hey, this is cheesy. But no, it was really cool just being on Molokai. What a great island.
Yep.
So we got that
And
picture.
here's a map of it.
So that's actually the certificate from the swim
okay.
with my name spelled Stephen Leitch. And that's not my name. So I said, hey, my name's Steve. Can I get a different certificate? And he goes, well, you can cross it out or change your name. And I said, see, you're not entitled to anything in life. Like not even your name spelled right after
on
28
something.
miles.
Yeah, exactly. I love this picture.
This is like 8:30 in the morning back at the harbor after the swim. And that was the crew, that was the team that went through the night passage, as I called it.
Yeah, and this looks like an early morning, or maybe it's dusk.
So that, if you look at that picture closely,
Okay.
Herschel's standing on the boat, but if you look for the angle, it's shooting up.
Okay.
That shows you how big that wave was that we're cresting. I mean, it was definitely an 8-footer at that point, right?
Really?
He was down in it. If you look, see how it's angled up?
You're right.
He's standing on the boat, so he's shooting up, taking that picture.
And here you are again.
That's with Sweet Margot, one of our daughters. We're swimming Lake Huey, and just great memory.
It is. And this must be the wedding day.
Yeah, that was another tree. Look at that. That was December 28th, 2014.
That's great. Family.
Got it right. This was last week.
There you go.
That's going to be our Christmas card picture. You can't show this till after Christmas.
Don't worry.
I'm just kidding. But that's our kids and son-in-laws. Yeah.
And no, folks, this is not a grandchild. Who is this?
That is me sitting in great friends of the family, Bob and Judith Berry, really Uncle Bob.
Yeah.
Another guy who believed in living life to the fullest. And that's sitting in his Ferrari as a little boy.
That's great. And I love this. Everybody's in on it.
Here you go. That is my bride, Kelly, in the background, but that's Laura's daughter.
Okay.
Who was her husband stationed in Hawaii and who was there for the swim.
That's great.
That was the night about a week before the swim.
Okay. I love this picture.
It's me and my dad.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. You guys are tight, I can tell.
One of the last Christmas pictures.
Yep. And then looks like you've got a surfboard here and you're...
Yeah, we went surfing up in Maui, and that's a daughter Sky, and
that's great.
we took her out.
Yeah, looks like at night.
That's the moon has just risen. That is the middle of the Pacific. That little red light, if you go back, that little red light is on the back of my cap.
Oh, really?
That's how they don't lose me.
It's good to know. Red light. All right. Well, cool. I was wondering what that was. So I love this saying, not all storms come to disrupt your life. Some come to clear your path. Thought that was beautiful. I wanted to share that with the audience.
I mean, if life was predictable and easy, then it'd be pretty boring. We actually shot a video, Kelly and I, a few days after swimming. There was like not a ripple on the water. And we were on Maui. And I said, how boring of a swim would that have been if it had been like that? And she just looks at me like, I guess you're right.
Yeah, right. Now, we ask our guests from time to time, Steve, to bring an object that captures their essence. You know, we've had people, poems, pictures of family members. It can really be whatever you like. Did you happen to bring something today to the studio?
Yeah, I did absolutely. So this is my dad's graduation ring from Moody Bible Institute in Chicago.
Wow.
Class of 66. And to you and to everybody else, you're like, okay, it's great. It's a graduation ring. But see, here's the thing. My dad didn't graduate from high school in Scotland. A pastor came across from Moody Church to our church in Scotland. And my dad, I said to my dad, you need to be in full-time ministry. And then wrote a letter to get him into Moody Bible Institute, where Dad, Mom, flew across on a twin-prop plane that refueled in Greenland in the 60s. Talk about challenging the narrative and not listening to other people, because a lot of their friends and even the church were like, no, you shouldn't go do that. And he did do that. But he also tells the story, my dad, that when he first got into ministry, he wanted to be like a music leader, like a guy called Cliff Barrows, or he wanted to preach like Billy Graham, you know. But then very quickly he realized he wasn't created to be somebody else. He was created to be him. And when you're created to be yourself, you follow your own story, that God's put in front of you and follow him, not what others say. So this ring is just a reminder that it's okay to lead a different path and to go on that narrow path and to keep moving forward. Back then, there wasn't iPhones.
Right.
My mom's mom passed away while she was, and the funeral was already over by the time she found out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that kind of stuff, yeah.
So we live in an entitled, no, not entitled, we live in a very remarkable time, but there's not a lot of remarkable things going on.
Mm.
And I think it's because there's so much of this trying to fit in with the masses and trying to fit in with others that we actually lose sight of what God has for us, living our purpose and living for others. So this ring I carry it with me everywhere now, just as a reminder that to challenge the narrative and to keep moving forward and trusting and walking and stepping in faith every single day.
I love that. So, some people are really familiar with this subject, others aren't, but, you and I have kind of talked off camera about God winks.
Yeah.
If you want to share, what that is and maybe how you've experienced them in your life.
God winks was something that Laura and her husband Steve, used to. Laura was really my non-biological sister.
Right.
And during ALS, they started talking about God winks and how things were connected and how God's showing up. So we are interviewing Laura's daughter, Courtney, on Oahu, Herschel's shooting. Herschel, the amazing videographer.
Oh, he is.
He's such a storyteller with a camera. And he says to Courtney, he says to me, I asked her about God winks. I was like, what? Did I mention that? He's like, no. I'm like, did she mention it? She goes, no. And this is where Andrea, who's our creative director for the documentary we have coming out, had talked to Herschel about God winks. And he brought it up with Courtney, and Courtney brought it up on the camera. And I'm just like, see, there's where people see coincidence, I see providence.
Yeah.
There is a beautiful tapestry being woven, and we only get to see the back of the tapestry, the knots, but one day we're going to see the entire tapestry.
I like that. It's so true. I totally agree.
Yeah.
At middle age, I can totally relate to what John.
I like the term middle age too, by the way, just so you know.
Well, you're smart enough to know the difference, and you're still young enough to do something about it. That's what I always say.
Right.
Could you describe in particular detail a scenario or incidents where you utilized your own philosophy on leadership? You'd mentioned love earlier on the leadership word. Sometimes guests like to dovetail that into this question.
Leadership is caring more about the person outside of work than inside of work. When you work with somebody and the life that they have outside of work and that development, that is where you really start to come through and shine. But if you only focus on work, you never know what people are going through, and there's things that will take, they're going to affect your performance. The simplest of ones, the very simplest story is, imagine this, 10 minutes before filming, your bride, your wife walks in here and you get in an argument.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
Yeah, I'm going to take it out on you, probably.
You know what I'm saying? There's going to be a different energy and a different vibe. So why don't we believe as leaders that that's not going to happen at work or in our families? We have to work through these things. And the more that we can work in our spiritual, physical, and relational development, that'll drive our financial.
What do you consider to be your biggest pet peeve? And it can be more than one, personal, professional. I know about your first name, but you can use that one if you want.
Man, I can't even remember what I said for pet peeves because thankfully you asked this question last week, and I really don't have a ton of pet peeves. Probably people that sit in the left lane on the highway and don't get over it, because that's a pretty big pet peeve.
Yeah.
No, I think my biggest pet peeve would be just not believing that you can lead a different life. You can break free, break out, whatever you got to do, and know that you're not alone. God believes in you. You don't have to be stuck. I get stuck. I don't have it perfect.
Yeah.
I still get stuck. Everybody gets stuck, but it's how quickly can you recover and move forward.
Yeah, I got you. If someone were to ask you, what do you stand for, what would you say about yourself, not what they might perceive you to be?
Pretty simple. Love God, love others. Jesus will change your life. Period. Done.
There you go. That's what I like about this guy, man. You just boom, you know. That's remarkable. Is there a difference today in when you got into swimming, 20, 30 years ago, and how it is now? I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, I know swimming is swimming, don't get me wrong, but I mean, is there more people interested in it, or is it everybody's trying to do challenges? What's kind of changed with it, or has anything changed?
I mean, one thing that's changed is I don't fit into a Speedo as well as I used to.
I didn't ask you to come to the shoot in your Speedo.
No, I don't follow a ton of like Olympic swimming or anything like that. I just haven't gone back to that place in life. Open water swimming is definitely progressing.
Okay.
You're seeing more and more people do English Channel, which is bringing more awareness to sport. Andy Donaldson, just doing Ocean 7 in 12 months, bringing more awareness. Sarah Thomas, I mean, what a swimmer. She's done a quadruple crossing of the English Channel. Nobody's done that. She's done a double crossing. This is two-way of the North Channel. Nobody's done that. But outside of the swimming world, who's heard of this?
Right. That's a good point.
But here's where I think is going to change. And I think it's the same as women's golf maybe 30, 40 years ago, whatever. There's now a young crop of British swimmers and younger swimmers around the world who are getting into open water swimming. They're starting to take down, like a 15-year-old just did Hawaii maybe 8 weeks before me, 15 and a half years old. Now, granted, the swim took her 27 hours. I'm like, oh my gosh, it took me just under 13. I'm like, well done. Because I don't know that I would have stuck in there for 27 hours. So that's incredible to me. But once the younger ones start coming in, you'll start to see more, kind of more media and things around it. Plus, there's not a ton of content out there around it, so that's really the other thing that we want to do. We want to bring more content to the adventure swimming, because most people who are doing these challenges are doing it to raise money for a cause. Because we all realize it's bigger than just us,
So I'm going to have a little fun question here for you.
Oh, here we go.
You were born in Scotland. How long did you like grow up there till you were like 10, or did you start coming to the States all throughout your childhood? There's no accent, and so I don't know if you can drop right into it, or is it long gone?
I mean, I can talk like I'm from Scotland if I want to, but it's not really my true accent, and it's probably picked up and forgotten. But I came over here every summer and Christmas, basically since I was born, and then I went to college, university at 17 from Scotland, and I've lived here since basically 1998. But the problem was in kitchens, when I was a chef in the United States, nobody could understand me. I spoke really quickly and with a brogue. And so I was like, I've got to get rid of this accent or no food's going to get to the table.
I like that. Well, I'm like 85% Scotch-Irish. That's probably why we get along.
No, you're not Scotch.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because Scotch is the drink.
That's right.
You're Scots-Irish.
There you go. Thank you. There you go. So do you think there's a difference today in your journey now than when you first started, from under that tree, 2010? I mean, there's the God winks we've talked about. There's a lot of things that happen that you do and don't control, and there's a higher power, as we talked about. But what is different?
The huge difference between the first 3-4 years, maybe 3 years of sobriety was like I was playing this performance game, trying to balance the scales of, hey, look at all this good I'm doing, and it was really gross, really gross. Then I got to the point where I was just like, I really want to make it about other people, which has come in even more during the swimming. But the biggest difference now is I am willing to fail, and fail often, whether it's in cold water preparation, swimming, work, not getting moving into a conversation with our kids or in my marriage that I'm not scared to walk into, but I might not get it right.
Right.
You know,
No,
but
that's
instead
true.
of being passive and cowering back from things, just really, you know, stepping into them would be the big difference.
I appreciate you sharing that. So you're pretty much driving your own boat, no pun intended, you know, since you're out on the water a lot.
I don't want to be on the boat.
Right, I know, that's pretty clear. If you were granted 2 weeks right today, you know, no technology, ideally money's no object, you know, vacation from life, basically, you know, 10 business days, 14 calendar days. Where do you go? What do you do? Who do you take with you? I've got an idea, but I'm not going to answer your question. So.
Yeah, we immediately get all the kids and grandchild on a plane to Maui,
Okay.
rent a place, everybody hangs out, and I go swim.
And you leave them alone. No, I'm just kidding.
No, then I go swim Molokai again.
Okay.
But then I could also do the Maui Nui Challenge,
Okay.
which goes from Maui to Molokai, and then Molokai to Lanai, and then you do Maui to Lanai, and it's a 3-day swim. I do that. I might even consider, there's another one out there that very few people have done, but it's a,
Where?
I think it's, I don't even want to say it. Like, I don't even know if I've got it right. I think it's going from the Big Island to Maui.
Okay.
Very, very dangerous one, but yeah, it's kind of appealing. So, but then the kids get a Hawaii vacation, and
Sure.
I get to do what I want.
There you go.
But then I also, here's the thing. After the swim, you then just don't roll over and die.
Right.
You know, that's why I ran up the beach after the swim. I finished strong. And then you serve your family afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we flew back from Maui, from Oahu to Maui, and had charcuterie on the porch that night
great.
after sunset and hung out, and then kind of just decompressed and talk about the day. And then the next day it was all about Kelly. She just wanted to sit on the beach, which is very hard for me.
Yeah.
Very hard for me to sit there.
Yeah.
And finally she said, after hours, she goes, you can go get in the water. I thank you so much for just sitting with me here today. And I was like,
in a good way.
yeah, no,
right,
but really. And I did, and went out for about maybe an hour, got a little swim in, and then came back and sat with her again.
So do you ever hit a wall, like physically? Do you ever just get to where you've got to stop? I don't mean not in the water. I mean just you have such a level of energy that I don't see in most people.
Yeah, it's definitely after. Like I'm actually, in truth, I'm hitting a wall right now.
Okay.
We've been on the road almost every weekend since the beginning of May, getting ready for our daughter's wedding.
Yeah.
You know, you've got I had a sick father-in-law this summer. We've got people staying with us, still training, business, work, developing. You know, being on podcasts.
Sure.
All different things, and I'm hitting a wall right now, but I also know I'm going into a really big training cycle to get ready for next summer. So, like, that's why I drove up here last night. I was like, can get here around 6, have dinner. You know, I had a nice little salad from a cast iron place, or whatever it's called. It was good.
Yeah.
And just sat in my room and just read. And it was just, you know, just
Chill.
kind of recharged.
Yeah.
I did get up and swim this morning.
Really? Yeah. You just can't stay out of the
But
water.
I waited till 7:30. I didn't get up and do it at 5. You know, so it's like, yeah, I'm going to make choices, not excuses.
Just a quick question, should have asked it earlier. Was there any familial history with swimming? You know, father, grandfather, were there swimmers in the family, or was this kind of your own thing that you found?
My dad swam for our swim team when he was younger,
Okay.
Warner Baths. It was actually just down the street from where my grandfather was raised. And he actually used to swim with Francis Smith, who was my swim coach at one point. And it was kind of interesting. But we were talking about this maybe a couple of weeks ago. We were trying to determine, it was like when my son at 15, actually at 14, passed me in height. We're trying to remember when my dad stopped racing me. And I'm wanting to say it was like at 8 or 9 years old. I beat him, and he was like,
geez.
I'm done. You know, but he was a good rugby player. My grandpa he did play professional football, soccer in Scotland for a little bit. My uncle, Arthur, was also international rugby player for a little
There
bit.
you go.
So, but my mom, you know, she's ran marathons up till 75 years old.
Wow.
At 80, This summer, she ran 90 miles in a week and then did 100 the next week just to see if she could do it. So there is stuff in our genetics.
Yeah, I was going to say that helps explain a little bit more into your life choices.
Of course, you can't hit a moving target, right?
Right. I got you. If you could have dinner alone with anyone, living or deceased, who would it be and why, Steve? It could be more than one person. It can be a buffet, liquor. No liquor, obviously.
Yeah, we'll keep the liquor.
But
it
can
without
be
a passport.
Right, exactly. You can have it any way you want. Tons of people, one person, two people, famous, not famous, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's pretty simple. I'd want my wife, my kids, Kelly and the kids. I'd love to have dinner with my dad again,
Sure.
Laura, and with her husband and Steve and their kids, and her granddaughter is just being born that she's never got to see. And just, hey, Last Supper style thing, have Jesus there. It'd be a really interesting conversation.
It would.
Like, why didn't you calm those seas?
Pass the butter. I like that. So this is our signature question. You're a 431st guest. No one gets out of the rocket seat, as I call it, or the hot seat without answering this question. Younger or older, adventurer like you are, or someone a little calmer. God forbid you walk out of the studio today. It's your last day on earth. You've impacted a lot of people. You're probably going to impact, or you are going to impact a lot more of them by what you do and the attention that's going to bring. You might even change someone's life watching what you do as inspirational. How do you want to be remembered by those people? Mainly family, friends, colleagues, other swimmers in the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to be remembered as someone that points the way to Jesus, that uses their God-given talents to serve others, and who serves their family from the inside out to the world. Doesn't serve the world first and then their family. I also want to be remembered as someone who challenged the narrative. Like, the world has it so backwards. Like, absolutely backwards. Up is down, down is up. Nothing makes sense. But in the midst of that, there is a hope. And that hope only comes from Jesus. That's how I want to be remembered.
I'm humbled and honored you came on Moxie Talk with Kirt Jacobs, and you're the first guest to ever actually drive up from out of town. Yeah. Thanks so much. If you've enjoyed today's discussion in Moxie Talk, we'd love to hear from you, or if you know someone that would be a great guest for our program, just go to MoxieTalk.com or all the major social media platforms. Just type in Moxie Talk with Kirt Jacobs. Until next time, I'm Kirt Jacobs. Thanks for watching.